with you. And yeah, when it comes to Canadian success stories at the Summer Olympics, our women's soccer team winning gold in dramatic fashion was at or right at the top of the list. And front and center in that is a woman from Ottawa who played a key and pivotal role in Canada winning that gold medal. And Vanessa Gilles is her name, and she joins us right now on the Gabriel Pizza Hotline. How are you doing this morning, Vanessa?
I'm doing really well. Just got the chills again listening to that clip.
That's
Thank you very much.
How many times have you watched either Julia's goal, shootout goal to win it, or your own shootout goal that eventually allowed Canada to beat Brazil?
Honestly, I'll be very honest. I haven't even rewatched any of the games, any of the clips, or anything. I'm just still clinging on to that feeling.
Okay.
But yeah, I've heard that clip. Canada came, Canada conquered, Canada gold, and cheers to the commentator, because every time it gives me chills just hearing it, not even watching it.
Sounds like something that should be printed on a T-shirt and something you guys can use for future inspiration.
Absolutely. So I don't even know who the commentator was, but he absolutely killed it.
Well, listen, congratulations. It has been incredible, your journey, and we'll go through it kind of with you coming up. But you received a great honor earlier this week by coming and being honored by the city of Ottawa a couple of days ago. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually had just come in from France from my professional club team the night before, and so I hadn't had time to see my family or friends or what have you, because we were at the mayor's that morning. So it was just kind of a surreal moment. When you talk about homecoming events, that really was a homecoming, because just being in City Hall, and I never really thought I'd be in a government building, maybe just to pay a parking ticket, but first that was kind of surreal, and then getting to meet the mayor, who was amazing and very easy to talk to, very down to earth, and just an honor in itself. And then so we took the stage, and right when it was just like a podium, not really a stage. I'm building it up to be something. But anyway, to take the podium, and all my friends and family were there, who I didn't get to say hi to or whatnot since before the Olympics. So kind of that mixed emotion, and then also getting the honor from the mayor was just excitement all around.
A lot of athletes, professional or amateur, can go under the radar in a city like Ottawa. How nice was that to come full circle? And I'm assuming from a name standpoint, a whole lot more people locally know who you are now.
Yeah, I didn't think, I had no idea of the scale of everything until yesterday. I went to go talk at my old high school, and one of my old coaches, Raz, invited me to come talk to his team as well, which I thought was just his team. Little did I know it was the whole club. And so when we were taking pictures, it was just a huge frenzy of, children, as if I was at a daycare with a huge pack of candy or something. Everyone was just jumping on me. So, yeah, it hasn't set in yet, but it was kind of an eye-opening experience.
We're talking to Vanessa Gilles, gold medalist for Canada in women's soccer from the Summer Games. What have you done? What do you do with your gold medal? I'm presuming when you make these public appearances, everybody wants to see it and touch it. But what are your plans for your gold medal going forward?
That's a great question. I have no idea. Right now, it's sitting under. Well, I probably shouldn't tell my hiding spot at home, but it's sitting hidden under, not even hidden, just camouflaged into an array of decorations in our dining room, just in its box, hanging around. And then when I do events, I didn't even know this, but the medal is incredibly heavy, and so I hate having it around my neck, because I end up with a crinked neck and whatnot. So I just have it in my pocket, and people are like, "Did you bring the medal? Put it on." I'm like, "Oh, it's heavy. You put it on."
Yeah.
And I put it on others instead of myself.
Go back 9 years ago. You're 16 years old, and I think for myself, watching that frustration match against the United States in 2012, thoughts on, I guess, for the program and for people like you coming along, and what that moment felt like to kind of motivate the entire group to gold this year?
Yeah, in 2012, we actually had talked about it as a team leading up to the Olympics, and what that game meant, what that loss meant at the Olympics, and then what the win with bronze meant, and the feelings behind it. And then for me, myself, 2012 was actually, like you said, the year I kind of had gotten into soccer. It was probably the first time I had watched the Canadian women's national team play. And I was with my club team at a Boston Pizza, actually. obviously eating a salad, nothing more, and just feeling the emotion and the frustration, but also the hope that came about that game, and the inspiration that they instilled in all of us to want to be in their shoes and to want to, fight for our country and be there for future generations. For me, that's really what I got out of that game, and also that want to beat the U.S. after that frustrating game. That's really what I took out of it, and, coming full circle, Sink and Karina and Dee actually came to talk at my high school at Louis Riel, and I remember just looking at them and being like, I want to be your friends. I want to be teammates with you. I want to be in your shoes. I want to wear that jersey. Like, I want to be talking just like you, and wearing a medal, hopefully a better medal, but a medal. And then coming full circle to 2020, actually doing that and being in their shoes and having Sink as a teammate, this kind of, when I reflect over it, I'm like, just still, wow, what the heck happened?
Yeah, all of that in, I guess it ends up being 9 years from 2012 to 2021. My understanding, Vanessa, is you actually grew up playing tennis and switched over to soccer. Kind of take us through your decision to switch, and could we have eventually, if you had followed through, maybe seen you? Gabby Dabrowski's a great Ottawa tennis player. Would we have seen you on the courts at some of the slams?
Yeah, so I did grow up playing tennis, but mostly because my brother played soccer, and we're both incredibly competitive. So whenever we would end up, playing the same sport, we would be in the corner fighting instead of playing. So my parents had to separate us. I got the tennis skirt, and my brother got the soccer shoes. So, just growing up, I always admired him, admired what he was doing. He was also a center back, big, strong center back, and tennis was, as you know, very much individual sport and takes an incredible amount of focus, patience, so much that goes behind the scenes as well. And it just wasn't for me. I craved that kind of social aspect, that physical aspect of, okay, this is going to sound terrible saying out loud, but like tackling and, putting people to the ground and really just getting gritty on the field, that's something I craved. And on the tennis court, that didn't really go well when that physical aspect was me smashing rackets and throwing balls around. So I ended up quitting, and I slowly got into soccer, mostly to, hang out with friends and do what my brother was doing, and just, kind of have an escape from everything and just get to focus on one thing. And thankfully it kind of stuck, and I got lucky along the way to get to where I was, or where I am. But I don't know if I would have made it to where Gabby is, or, but I fully enjoy watching them. I watched Layla this U.S. Open, who's absolutely incredible, and loved watching. Hate playing, but absolutely loved watching.
If I had have asked, however you were, 14, 15-year-old Vanessa Gilles playing for West Ottawa Soccer and Cap U, you see yourself playing in the Olympics in 5 or 6 years from now, what would you have said?
I would have said, get out of here. It's obviously, I think every kid dreams, and it's something, you grow up visualizing when you see the Canadian team win back-to-back bronze medals. It's something you're like, wow, I wish that was me. I wish I could do that. I wish I could wear that jersey. And, I always dreamed of being friends with, Quiche or Sink and all these big namesakes for Canada. And the whole saying, work until your idols become your friends is something I really clinged on to. And so, growing up, I always visualized and dreamt. I never maybe thought that it would happen, but here we are. But I always worked as though, that could be a possibility, and that could be something that I could end up doing.
I'd love to go back to the game itself. What was it like after knock off the United States? Not that it's a letdown, you're playing for gold medal, but did it take a little bit as a group, and did you talk about regrouping and making sure you didn't take Sweden lightly?
Yeah, absolutely. I think going into the tournament, I remember Bev saying, the bracket that we had and the lead up to the possible finals is exactly where we wanted to be, getting to play Brazil, who is an amazing adversary who we've played, I think, in the past year maybe 2 or 3 times already. It's exactly what we wanted, and then getting to play the U.S. in the semifinals and not the finals was also something that, we kind of craved for and wanted to be able to kind of reenact that 2012, but in a different manner, and be able to give that to the vets like Aaron McLeod, Sink, who were at that 2012 game and who, unfortunately were on the other end of the game and played the bronze medal instead of the gold medal match. But, that extra motivation for us to get to that gold medal match. I mean, who wouldn't want to play the U.S. and be able to beat, their rivals to get to that gold medal? And once we were there, we kind of we knew Sweden was, one of the better teams going into this tournament, and they proved their worth, by beating the U.S., by beating practically everybody in regulation time. So, and it was a team we hadn't really played very often in the past few years. So we knew what we were coming up against, and we knew, going into it that they were an incredible opponent, and it would take everything for us to beat them. And we kind of went in with the mentality of, you have nothing to lose, but everything to gain. So just enjoy it, enjoy the moment, and, whatever happens, we're proud of our what we did this tournament, and we're proud of ourselves, and we're here for each other. So that was also our mentality going into the penalties, and I think you can kind of tell our camaraderie and our love for each other, and our will to fight for each other, which is, in my opinion, what made our strength.
Talking to Vanessa Gilles, gold medal winning member of Canada's women's Olympic soccer team. Take us through the range of emotion you went through personally and with your team as you went through those penalty kicks, because it looked like it for a time you guys were probably going to lose, then you end up winning. Kind of take us through that 5 or 10 minutes, however long it took.
I think looking back on it now, I think fatigue had an enormous part to play in those penalties. When you look at Sweden's penalties, our penalties, players, legends like Seger on Sweden, and even Ashley Dree, who are incredible players and who usually would never, or I won't say would never, but are usually 100% for penalties. You saw their shots saved or saw their shots not framed. And I think fatigue, when you think of a tournament, had an enormous part to play, playing back-to-back 120 minutes, 90 minutes in heat, 3 days apart. So I think that when you talk about emotion, fatigue in terms of being able to focus, being able to, bring your heart rate down and calm yourself before those penalties and dial it in, I think all that was obviously clouded by fatigue. But then when I had missed, when I hit the penalty bar pretty hard,
mm-hmm.
I remember going up to Steph afterwards to kind of comfort her and motivate her, and what ended up happening is her comforting and motivating me, which is kind of funny, seeing as how we were in a finals and she was about to take the decisive save, and I was like, come on, Steph, you got this, go kill it, you can do it. And she was like, yeah, Vanessa, you guys kind of saw her smiling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, she was laughing and smiling at me too as I just missed and went up to her, and she was like, yeah, Vanessa, no worries, I got you, and smiling and laughing, I got you, don't worry, walk back, we're going to win this, don't worry. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. So then I just jogged back, and I was like, okay, yep, let's win this, ha, ha, ha. And she ended up saving 2 penalties, and yeah, she wasn't wrong.
Yeah,
she absolutely wasn't wrong.
She took care of business for sure.
Absolutely.
What is the one moment after you guys won that you will always, or what is the one moment that will always stick out to you, from whether it was in the immediacy of it, in the dressing room afterward, coming home? What's the one moment you're left with?
I think for me, and it's obviously very cliche, and I think a lot of players will have the same answer, but being on the top of that podium, first to get on that podium, none of us really, I was beside Nichelle Prince and Evelyn Viens, and Ev and I were both talking because it was our first big tournament, and we were like, what do we do? Do we step on it? Do we step right foot? Do we step left foot? Do we raise our hands? What do we do? And Sink was beside Ev, and she was like, just, follow my lead. Right foot first. We step, we raise, we sing. I was like, okay. Easy to follow instructions. So we stepped up, and we were the last to step up because the U.S. and Sweden went before us, and just that feeling of, being locked in, because you put your hand on the person in front of you, and you have your medal, and you have your hand with your flowers on your heart, and singing "Oh Canada" really on top of that podium, on top of Sweden, on top of the U.S., was just, I've never sang "Oh Canada" so loud and so pridefully. So that was, for me, was very emotional.
So you're 25 years old. You got potentially a lot of soccer in front of you. How do you continue to motivate yourself going forward? Both, you're playing club soccer over in France. Obviously, there are future World Cups and potential Olympics. How do you continue to remotivate yourself?
I mean, I don't think it's very hard. I think playing soccer is obviously a chance that I have to be able to play at this level, and it's something I obviously don't take for granted. And like you said, I'm only 25. Hopefully this gold medal isn't the end for me or Team Canada. It's just the beginning, and I hope that this kind of propulses us all forward to a new era, to new opportunity and whatnot. So I would like to be obviously a part of that and to see what our future holds because, I think the sky's the limit for us, for Canada, for the next generation, for the current generation, and this is kind of a reminder, the gold medal is kind of a reminder to, think of it as a new beginning.
And we'll end with this because your team's success story kind of led to when you guys won your gold medal to the continued story of lack of a national league here in Canada or a place where you guys can play if you want to in our country. What can you guys do? What do you think should be done as far as just getting soccer bigger in this country on a professional level?
Yeah, I think obviously the first step would be to get a professional team as soon as we can to be able to play in one of the best leagues in the world, which is the NWSL, and to be able to compete at the highest level and give more opportunity to players in Canada, because that's a big roadblock for us, is finding teams. Since we're not American, we're not European, we're kind of in that gray zone where you can't play at home and it's hard for you to find an international spot in other leagues. So having that home team and having that opportunity, even if it is just to train or to play, and to have people be able to go to those games and watch, their idols and their role models play week in and week out, and to have that, oh, I want to be them, I want to be there, like, this is my motivation. I think that is already huge for Canada, and then hopefully down the road, not so distant road, we can get, like the men have been doing for the past 2 or 3 years, is get our own professional league here in Canada and get our own, franchise to be able to have, like I said, that fan base week in and week out to motivate the next generation and to give opportunity to players who, might otherwise have to stop soccer after university because of lack of opportunity.
Right. Good stuff. You play club soccer over in Bordeaux. Do you guys, when you celebrate a win, I mean, is it a celebratory glass of wine from Bordeaux, or how does that work?
That's funny. Well, there's obviously cheese involved. I don't know about wine.
Okay. And a nice little bread, right? Yeah.
Yeah. There's always a piece of baguette hanging around after games, and a piece of cheese as your entree. So no wine, unfortunately. Oh. But you can always get that at the supermarket for about $5.
Oh, perfect. Absolutely. Listen, it's great to catch up with you. Such an unbelievable success story from our city. Everybody here was cheering you on and cheering your team on, obviously, during the Olympics. Good on you for joining us. Really appreciate it, and continued success going forward.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me on your show.